Okay, going straight to the point, here's some practical advice on regaining trust after a marriage has broken down, after a marriage has been torn apart into shreds, on the scenes, and you're back together, but you're still having issues with trust. How do I trust him again? How do I trust her again? Now, one of the major things we need to be looking at is transparency. When you're back together, it should be, prior to your getting back together, you should have been praying about transparency. One of the things you should desire in your marriage is transparency. Your spouse, the other person, should make the effort to be more transparent, should show themselves. For a marriage to truly have been restored, for you to know that this marriage indeed has been restored, you must see some show of transparency, some show of wanting to be transparent, from some show of commitment to being transparent. You will see, sometimes it can look different sorts of ways. Much as you're seeing some show of transparency, that's not to say that um you should dictate what you see. For instance, I during my time, I saw there was so many things that he did to show me transparency, to show me that, hey, I'm committed to this, you know. But at the same time, I wasn't the one insisting on this and that. I wasn't um, um, pointing this out and pointing that out and saying, if you don't do it like this, if you don't do it like that, because I've seen some cases where the man, for instance, is trying very hard, has done so many things to show you that, listen, I'm different from who I used to be. He has tried to do so many things differently from how he used to do them, you know. But the lady, the wife still is not satisfied. There's certain other things she would like him to do. You understand? So if you see that so much has been done um to make an effort, to commit, to show commitment in this marriage, to show commitment in this restoration, to show commitment going forward, recognize that, accept that, as the effort, and then keep praying about the rest. Because really, there's no relationship where everything is hunky dory as exactly as you want it. Especially if some of us have that's why it's a relationship. That's why it's a give and take. That's why it's a learning process. That's why it's an understanding process. You may want a certain thing a certain way. For instance, there are people who wish that their spouses were not close to their siblings, or that their spouses were not close to their friends. If that is what you desire, and that's what you think, your spouse has to do or has to show you for the relationship to be better, for the relationship to be fully restored, then that's sad. That's sad because that is not likely to happen. Or if you have a spouse who is friendly, who is extroverted, and you expect him to become introverted, for you to be happy, for you to be able to believe that he that things are different, then that you're asking for the impossible. What you're asking for is unfair. Is unfair. Part of your prayer point should be, Lord, not break off this. Make sure there's no um 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 other sex around them. There's no um, female, or there's no male around them. That's not your prayer. Your prayer is, give him or her the resilience, teach him, yeah, build in him, build in her the resilience, build in him, build in her the strength to handle temptation. That's a prayer point, because you cannot have control over every circumstance. Yes, yes, there may be those instances that are way out of the mark. This is just unacceptable. That is different. If it's acceptable universally, then it's acceptable. If it's unacceptable universally, then it's unacceptable universally. Then you can begin to see how you can approach the subject with your spouse. But if it's something that is not, sometimes it's just you um, carrying on. Sometimes it's just you and your own fears and your own anxieties and your own insecurities. You have to take that into consideration and not overburden your spouse just because you're fearful. As a matter of fact, that fear in itself can drive a spouse in another direction. Yeah, which is not, and that's not what you desire. So you don't want to be the one to push them to the wall. Yeah, you want to show trust. So when someone has shown themselves to be transparent, as a matter of fact, even before, let's say, for those who are seeking to get married, looking to get married, you desire to marry a certain person, you're planning towards marrying a certain person. One of the things you must watch out for is transparency. If you're planning to marry somebody who hasn't shown himself to be transparent before you, who is hiding this and that, things that you would like to know, who hasn't shown themselves to be transparent in all intent and purpose, universally, in ways that are universally acceptable, they will let you come near their phones. They will let you um, meet their friends. They will let you know where they're going. They won't let you know where they are at. That is a red sign. You should not walk into a relationship like that. You should not walk into a marriage like that, because transparency is basic. Transparency is very crucial. Okay, so when the marriage has broken apart and then you've come back together, you've reconciled, one of the things you should be looking out for to know whether indeed you're reconciled is transparency. What efforts has this person made to come away from to come away from who he or she used to be, or how he or she used to carry on, to begin to show commitment towards a restoration, towards a better marriage. So that's one of the things we look out for. Apart from looking out for that, you too have to make the commitment to show yourself transparent. So this is not so you can begin to point fingers and say, okay, what is he doing right? What is she doing right? What is instead also, it is also for you to look within and say, am I being transparent? Am I showing commitment in this marriage by being showing myself more transparent? And then if you find that there are things to be desired regarding transparency, you know that you have this and that are part of your points going forward. Okay, so that's one. Then also remember that it's a sowing and reaping. It's a sowing and reaping. So you sow, you're reconciled. It's time for you to look to sowing, not look to, okay, now that we're reconciled, let's watch him. No, now that we're reconciled, in other words, certain things have been placed on the table and dealt with, and communication has been made open. Certain things have been made clear. Certain interventions have taken place. If all of that has happened, and then commitments have been made towards being more transparent, then you're now back together. Yeah, you're now back together. What you now do is poise yourself to begin to sow. You've learned so much already. You've learned how not to go. You've learned some ways to go and some ways how not to go. So you begin to sow. You poise yourself to begin to sow the right seeds. So we sow the right seeds, understanding that our life is a life of sowing and reaping. Matters of faith is a matter of sowing and reaping. So you're not busy looking to the other person, looking at the other person suspiciously and wondering, okay, let's watch him, closely. Let's know. You sow of yourself with reckless abandon. You sow of yourself. You first of all have a pure heart. Remember that whatever the Bible says, whatever is pure, if there be any good report, think on those things. Dwell on such things. Don't dwell on the negative. Suggestions will come to your mind. You remember certain things that took place, certain things that happened that hurt you deeply. And those things will want to cause you to freeze and turn around and go back to, a negative behavior. But no, when you understand what you're doing, that this is a sowing and reaping time. It is time for me to sow that I may reap. Intelligently, intentionally sow that I may reap. Okay, that I may see the fruit of what the fruit that I may bear the fruit of my sowing, that I may reap the fruit of my sowing. So it's a time for you to show the things that you've learned. It's a time for you to show that you're now a new leaf. Remember how they say it takes two to tango. Yes, but when it comes to marriage restoration matters, it takes one person to say, I want to take full responsibility. I want this thing to work. And then you begin to sow the necessary seeds and eventually you begin to reap those things. Now, those seeds that you were sowing are part of a part of what is bringing you together, bringing you back together. Now, when you're now back together, you don't stop sowing seeds. You continue to sow those seeds that you may reap in due season. Okay, so give the forgiveness you hope to receive from the Father yourself. Remember also, If you have not sinned, cast the first stone. So when you remember the fact that even you have erred before the Father, even you have disappointed the Father, even you have betrayed the Father, even you have hurt the Father, you know, you definitely will find some time when you have erred. What is the forgiveness that you hope to receive when you've erred? And you know how the Bible does say that if you've committed one sin, you've committed the rest. Before God, there is hardly um God doesn't talk about the sin being greater than that sin. He doesn't talk about those sort of things per se, per se, per se, per se. So what he says is, hey, do not be deceived and you know begin to imagine yourself vainglorious, better than the other person. Oh, I'm not like, thank God I'm not like this other person who commits this and that, or who committed this and that sin. I'm better. No, no. When you consider the fact that even if you haven't done it, you may have thought it. The fact that you even think it. Yes. So see yourself as somebody who by themselves is not righteous. God, we are all righteous by the blood of Jesus. Jesus is who makes us righteous. If you see it like that, then you're poised, understanding that there's a kind of forgiveness you hope to get from the Lord. You ask of the Lord. You too are constantly seeking mercy. You want mercy to constantly be before you. Okay, so if that is the case, you give the forgiveness you hope to receive from the Father yourself. No snooping, no condemning, no labeling, no concluding. You don't see a thing and label it and say, oh, this must be that. Oh, it must be that this person is, for instance, the one I hear often, narcissist. Or this person is Jezebel, one thing or the other, label the person one way or the other. No. No labeling, no concluding. Remember that somebody did something does not mean that this is who they are. That's how we model the love of God. Okay? Then, understanding that we all have sinned at one point or the other and fallen short of His glory, including yourself. Have you been acquainted with your best self or even your better self? Do you like the person that your better self is? Now, have you been acquainted with your spouse's better self? Some of us know our spouses so well. You've seen them in action. You've seen them you've seen their best selves. You know them. You love them. The reason why you love them, the reason why you fell in love with them, you've seen them in their elements. Okay, and you like them, you love them, and then sometimes during a marriage upheaval and all of that, you find that spouses begin to not believe so much in themselves, even when they are when they look like they are happy or when they look like they're in their best element. It's not true. There is a condemning going on. They're condemning themselves. They're feeling bad about what is going on. It is there. It is there. So you want the person to believe in themselves again. Okay. So let's now, have you been acquainted, like I said, have you been acquainted with your spouse's better self, the essence of who they are? Okay, now let's simplify that a little. What are the things that you've always liked about your spouse? Can you uphold those things before your mind's eye and delicately preserve that person in your heart and mind? Even lovingly and gently begin to affirm your spouse with a picture of who you know they really are. At a time like this, there's a lot of self-doubt, and if the self-doubt is strong enough, the self-doubt will keep the person in the rut they have found themselves. What we've done isn't always who we are. Unfortunately, we sometimes believe the lie that it is indeed who we are. And that's what makes people get locked in a lie. We call that a stronghold in Christian parlance. When people get locked in the lies that they believe, that's a stronghold taking hold. Our job as a standing spouse partly becomes to help our spouse begin again, to help to help our spouse believe again in themselves, in their true selves, in who the Father has made them to be, in that beautiful person that they truly are. It's a very powerful thing to have someone know you so well and believe so much in you that they refuse to be moved concerning you, even when you don't believe in yourself. Someone you have hurt, yet they stand. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Isn't that the essence of God's love toward us? In that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Because you see, He placed value on us. Isn't that the point of it all? That said, do please like, share, comment, subscribe to our channel. My husband and I are grateful to have you come by here to watch our content and give credence to the things that we're talking about. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's we appreciate you. We appreciate that you would come. It means the world to us. It helps us, it encourages us to do more of what we do. Hoping that as time goes on, the algorithms, the YouTube algorithms, the online algorithms will pick these things up and share them more as we join the conversation to share God's heart for marriages. Thank you.